Hello, beautiful souls. I hope you're doing well and welcome to my channel or welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Luana and I have been working professionally as a psychic medium for over the past 6 years, specializing in twin flame, soulmate, and love-related readings. I'm also married to my own twin flame and I help others come into union on this journey. So today we're going to be doing a divine feminine reading because I don't know about you guys, but the last few weeks has been energetically crazy. We just ended the Mercury Retrograde on the 23rd, and we are entering this time of the Lionsgate Portal coming up on 8/8. This is going to be one of the most potent times of the year to manifest, and the message that I keep receiving again and again for divine feminines is that this is the time period to basically shift into the receiving energy. So we are shifting out of patterns of overgiving and shifting into the version of us who is the abundant receiver, the version of you who can manifest love and abundance and opportunities and just overall really beautiful experiences. Okay, so the energy underlying this week, I'm going to be trying my best to do one of these every single week, is the Five of Pentacles. Okay, so this is an energy of lack, of scarcity, and also this is what's really coming through for this divine feminine collective tuned in here on this channel is childhood programming around lack. And well, I really have to say, like, the energy of what feels like perhaps even emotional neglect, like these inner child wounds and patterns that are coming to the surface to be healed. So if you have been feeling at this time particularly sensitive to rejection, or you felt particularly alone, just know that this is what is coming up in the energy. Okay, and I always say to all of my clients that I do readings for that my readings are not just information, but they're equivalent to an energy activation. Okay, so everything that I channel in this reading can be used and integrated to heal. And also I'll be mentioning healing resources throughout this reading, and I'll leave those all in the description for you guys to benefit from. Okay, also I have just gotten my hands on this new deck, the Goddess of Love Tarot, which I originally, the last deck I got was with my twin flame / my husband when we were at this Chapters bookstore. And I just felt like it was time for a new tarot deck. So I got this Goddess of Love Tarot. And I feel like this is so on point and on theme. I've been using it in all the readings that I've been doing for Divine Feminines. And so we're going to use it here, okay? So these cards are so gorgeous and I cannot wait to show you guys them. So let's shuffle. It's my intention to connect with the true and high vibrational spirit guides to bring through the messages for this collective that is for their highest good and ultimate healing and expansion and all of the goodness. Help them call in their union. What do divine feminines need to know? Okay, so we have the Hierophant reversed here. And we also have we have the Nine of Wands reverse. I'll show you guys these cards upright. It's very interesting. I just did a reading for a client and the Nine of Wands was a theme coming out. So I've seen this card a lot today. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like the Nine of Wands and that heaviness, those old burdens. In the reading that I did for the client, this Nine of Wands was talking to ancestral patterns. Okay, like this is the emotional exhaustion and the emotional patterns that we kind of inherit from our family. When our family has unresolved, maybe mental health issues, maybe they're not physically completely well hormonally, and they're carrying trauma and limiting beliefs that kind of get passed onto us or projected onto us because we grow up in that environment, and obviously our energy entrains with them. We begin taking on those patterns and we begin feeling that way and behaving in the same way. But there's a sense of unconventionality. There's a sense of the divine feminines right now in this collective, with the Seven of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck. You're moving through a heavy period, but you have a vision for the union that you want, for the life that you want, for the abundance that you want. Something I want you to pay attention to on this deck here, on this card, is this image of a cow within the pentacles. And in this context, the cow is really representing this sense of abundance. Like if you think about, if you're living on a farm, how one cow can feed your family for months and months and months. It's this long-term abundance, this long-term harvest, okay? The things and the effort that you're putting into healing yourself and manifesting right now have a long-term payoff, and that's really important to know. Okay, and we also have the Four of Cups here coming up. The Four of Cups is this emotional energy. You might have been feeling really drained lately, really apathetic or numb, or even just finding yourself focusing on and dwelling on the negatives. For those of you who are on a twin flame journey, it's almost like your divine counterpart right now might be struggling with inner child wounds around insecurity, causing them to not be able to give emotionally. And that's why we're seeing this Four of Cups, because this is a card of apathy. And at times it's also a card of disappointment and focusing on the negatives, because in the Four of Cups, you are ignoring the one cup that's being presented to you, but you're staring at the three spilled cups. You are emotionally hung up or focused on a sense of loss emotionally, okay? And so another thing that has been coming through in readings, in the personal readings that I've been doing for clients, has been this theme of the divine masculine collective consciousness really digesting and taking time working through past upsetting experiences in love. So for example, like a past relationship or past karmic connection where they were deeply hurt or unseen in some ways. They experienced a relationship that they expected to be loving, but it wasn't loving. It wasn't fulfilling, and it left them with like almost a sour taste in their mouth, okay? We have the Judgment card coming out reversed here. And so this energy for this collective in specific is almost saying the time for the divine, your divine masculine or your divine counterpart to work through these issues is coming up, but they are in a lot of ways resisting that and keeping it dormant. So, and there's a genuine reason for this. So it's not just that they're suppressing their feelings and they're wanting to escape it, but it's genuinely that when we are raised in a society that doesn't teach us the importance of emotional healing and emotional well-being, is that we will neglect our own. Okay, and so that's a channeled message coming through, is that one of the most, and this is what the guides are saying, is one of the most important things that you can do at this time is to take charge of your own emotional well-being and your own emotional healing. So if you're perceiving your divine counterpart or your divine masculine kind of like neglecting their emotions or neglecting their needs, it's a message to really tend to your own garden. And I did a reading today, and her guides were basically using this image of a garden that comes through. And that's usually my symbol for your inner world, like the health of your inner world, and how the health of your inner world represented by this beautiful garden and tending to the weeds being your negative thoughts. That garden is representative of your inner world, and it's representative of the health of your ability to connect with your counterpart's garden. Because if you even think about your energy being like this garden that can receive guests and visitors, and you can build things within that garden, it's like you want to keep it like a well-maintained garden. And this is not at all about like, make yourself more attractive or fix yourself. That's not at all what I'm saying. This is specifically about the inner world. And so for some of you, this might actually come through self-care. This might come through feeling really inspired to take actions to make yourself feel good about yourself, to feed yourself nourishing meals, to watch a movie that really brings you back home to yourself, like a movie you really enjoyed as a child. I don't know why I'm being shown the image of Tom and Jerry. That could be like a cartoon that's a reference to some divine feminines watching. So what is really on the heart of the divine feminines? What do we want to know right now? Okay, Nine of Cups reversed, okay? This is very interesting. I feel that specifically in this deck, because this is a deck that is all about kind of the divine feminine essence. It's about love and lust and the energy of creation. And so there's an element of self-care here, even with your physical body, about if you are feeling stuck. And for some of you, I really feel this will link to a sacral chakra blockage or wound where your family felt a lot of shame and fear around their sexuality. And so it's almost like that pattern will manifest in areas of your life that don't even seem related to your sexuality. But your sexuality is deeply linked to your emotional well-being, to your personality and your authentic expression. Like your sexuality and your creativity are one in the sacral chakra, right? And so in order for you to manifest in this union, to call in this union, and to receive this union, it's about clearing space in your emotional world to experience what the Nine of Cups would be upright, right? This sense of fulfillment and enjoyment, like wish fulfilled, like, oh my gosh, I got everything I wanted. And this is how I felt on my twin flame journey when I was harmonizing my union with my twin flame. I had this feeling of like, I am having everything I always wanted, but not because I fixed myself to become better, but because I cleared the emotions within me that were holding on to like that apathetic Four of Cups energy that came out earlier, that past pain, that expectation of disappointment. You have to allow yourself to clear away the things that have been causing you pain. And it's not a bad thing, you know. There's this beautiful quote by Teal Swan from one of her decks where she essentially says, you know, the brightness, or it's like, allow the joy of your life to burn away the past pain. And it, because it's like joy is represented by this fire, right? Burning away the past pain that was almost like a scab over a wound. For that wound to fully heal, it cannot be blocked. There cannot be, you know, residual things in the wound. The wound needs to be fully cleared, even if it feels vulnerable to have an open wound for the time being. It's about cleaning out that wound emotionally. Spirit is showing me this image, this beautiful image of like water, showers, taking baths, bathing in the lake or the ocean, any clean body of water that you can go to and maybe dip your feet in and symbolically say, because water, okay, so if you're having an emotional blockage that you want to move through, using water is such a beautiful way to do that, because if you think about the nature of water, it's flowing, it's changing, it's fluid. And sometimes our emotional wounds can get trapped like stagnant water. You want it to flow. You want those emotions to vent. A resource that I'm going to link down below for you guys is called the Trigger Recovery Roadmap from within my Spiritual Love Healing Academy. And this is basically a tool that I created for my clients to move through emotional triggers. Because one of the things that are the most painful in this journey, and oh my gosh, I have the Seven of Pentacles coming out again on the bottom of the deck as I talk about this. But it's like, one of the most powerful things that I move through on my journey and that I help clients move through is when you feel emotionally triggered and you feel stuck. It's so easy to get stuck in that because we are not taught to express our emotions. We're not taught how to journal them. We're also really not taught how to move through triggers. But I like to say that every single trigger is the doorway to union. And so just like I illustrated in this reading where your sacral chakra is clogged up, past negative experiences, it makes it very hard to receive love. And ultimately, when we're calling in union, we are manifesting love. We're manifesting this wish fulfillment energy of the Nine of Cups, right? And so to clear away the emotions that keep you in patterns of reactivity or negative thought patterns, that tool can really help you. So I'm going to leave it below, linked below, the Trigger Recovery Roadmap. It is basically something that walks you through every single step of how to approach a trigger. There's guided meditations, there's journal prompts. It will walk you through whatever trigger you're going through right now and give you the resources to overcome that. Healing triggers has been one of the things that I spent the most time on this journey, but it really is the most impactful. And I'm just laughing because I went through a lot of triggers recently, and you know, sometimes it's really not glamorous when you're in the midst of healing a trigger, and you don't need to expect it to be glamorous. It is not going to be glamorous when you are confronting old beliefs, old painful emotions, It's going to be messy, but that is okay, because part of the divine feminine initiation and journey and the way that you can become your in union self, which is really just the embodiment of, living your highest timeline in the best way that you can in this lifetime, is through getting really comfortable with your emotions, because your emotions hold who you are and your personal truths and your experiences. And so much of our identity is tied to our triggers, specifically the energy and emotional response of shame, right? Because shame makes us feel bad for who we are. And so what I'm really being shown in the energy right now is like this Mercury retrograde that has ended, and also this Lionsgate portal that we're moving into on August 8th, is bringing up all of these patterns of shame and old past pain, and also like relationships that never worked out, or catalyst connections that never worked out, or past periods of time where your twin flame connection wasn't working out. And it's like Spirit is asking you to attend to these wounds and triggers and to clear them, okay? So I really want to close this reading with a tangible piece of advice for what you guys can do right now. What can the divine feminine do who's watching this reading? We have the Hanged Man. We have the Two of Pentacles reversed. Okay, beautiful. This card came out in a reading I did this morning for a client. And we have the Tower reversed, the Void. Wow. Queen of Cups, the Hermit. This is beautiful. Okay, this is really positive. So let me show you the cards one by one. Okay, the Hanged Man, the Hanged One in this deck, is basically saying you don't have to force movement right now. Okay, if it feels too difficult to do things right now because of the emotions, because of the triggers, you don't have to act right now. You can give it time and space. Give yourself time to breathe and recuperate, because it's like, from your current perspective, you can't necessarily see the next step. The next step will come from a shift in perspective, but to get to the next shift in perspective isn't going to come through thinking your way to it, because it will come from entering a different state of consciousness and a different vibration. And the only way you're going to enter a different state of consciousness and a different vibration is through your emotions. You need to allow your emotions to flow. So I really think the trigger recovery roadmap is going to be really helpful for you, especially if you have a trigger that's been recurring, that hasn't been healing, or you're healing different layers of it, because you're going to move into a new energy that gives you a solution, but it's not going to be from your current perspective of that pain. Don't even try to find a solution when you're in the middle of pain or a trigger. You're not going to necessarily have an easy time finding a solution in that energy, because the energy of the solution is from a different state of consciousness, a different energy, okay? So all in all, surrender. That is like, I gave you the reasoning of why you should surrender, but that is the energetics behind why, okay? Two of Pentacles reversed. This is also, guys, look how beautiful this card is. This deck is so gorgeous. Let me know in the comments also if you guys enjoy this deck, because I can use it more for these readings. Two of Pentacles reversed here really ties into the current energy. This is just things being out of balance. If there's one thing to prioritize right now, it is self-care, okay? Because you can't get to a place where anything is productive when you're in a state of crisis or you're struggling. Self-care, number one. Once you have enough self-care, you have taken care of your needs, your emotions, and you have moved into a more regulated state, then those solutions can be created, okay? We have the Tower reversed, okay? The Tower reversed here is really speaking to an energy of things already crumbling, okay? So you're feeling the effects of a past event. This could be a catalyst connection. This could also be speaking to specific things in your life that is causing chaos, causing an upheaval, okay? That Tower is bringing up this past pain. So the purpose of this, okay, so if you've been wondering, like, why is this happening that is triggering me so damn much? It is for the purpose of being able to clear that sacral chakra energy, okay? Yeah. And then it gets incredible, okay? So that's the first half of these cards, okay? The second half of these cards here is we have the Void, which is, this is the equivalent of the Fool card in traditional tarot. Then we have the Queen of Cups. You guys know what the Queen of Cups is. This is you. This is the divine feminine energy. And then we have the Hermit card, your spiritual awakening, okay? So what this spread, the second half of this spread is really saying here is that when you go through this experience of purging these triggers and purging these emotions and purging everything that is coming up right now, and by purging, I really mean just let yourself feel it. Like, it doesn't have to be so complicated. Just let yourself feel it. Be compassionate with yourself and give yourself what you need right now to just get through this and to feel everything, okay? Then you step into the energy of the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups is self-compassionate. She is really the embodiment of the divine feminine, your in union self, right? Because she has this mastery and understanding over her emotions where she's not trying to control her emotions, right? She's going with the flow of her emotions. And I don't know if you guys ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender as kids, but that was like my childhood show. And I feel like that show actually has so many twin flame themes in it. It's just such a spiritual show, so beautiful, but it's like water bending. Like, you're going with the flow of the element. You're not working against the element of your emotions. You're not working against the ocean of your subconscious. You're going with it because that energy needs to express itself in a certain way, right? And the more that you resist the way that you want to express that pain, whether that is writing a letter to someone and burning it, whether it is writing a text and sending it and actually communicating it, whether it is posting something online, making art, making music, making anything that expresses and honors your emotions, okay? Something that I think that this collective has struggled with, this will be relevant for a handful of you, is that you might actually be an artist. You might be artistic in some way. I know I have a lot of clients and community members in my academy who are very artistic, beautiful, beautifully creative beings. And it's like you need to honor your desire to be artistic as like a core part of who you are. You can't deny it. And I can really relate to this because right before I manifested union with my twin flame, I went through a year where I was like, I'm just going to focus on do things that completely make me feel good. So I went to an acting class. I got an agent. I started doing acting and doing auditions because that had always been a dream of mine. I signed up for singing lessons because my whole life I had wanted to sing. I had never known how to sing. And now I sing every single day. I unlocked my throat chakra. So it's like the Queen of Cups energy is like, how far can you take your self-care? Like, how far can you take your self-care to the point where your whole life transforms because you are just living your day-to-day differently? It's such a beautiful energy. Even if you look at the pose of the Queen of Cups, it's like she is just relaxing. She feels good. She's surrounded by her element. She's in her element. And it's just like, it's beautiful. And also on the background of this card, you see she has angelic wings. And it's almost like through pursuing your passions, your art, your creativity, you give yourself wings to fly. You give yourself wings to do things that you've always wanted to do, including manifest in your union, right? Because your twin flame union is going to be attracted to, you know, the version of your life and help create the version of your life where you're living in this energy of just being shamelessly creative and expressive. So there, let me know in the comments if you guys are artists, because that was a really strong download that came through. And finally, we have the Hermit card. This is the culmination of everything that you've gone through as the divine feminine. Like, this is every single piece of crystallized wisdom come full circle. So it's almost like when you manifest union or you achieve the things you want to achieve, you physically manifest the things you want to call in. It's like you come full circle. It's almost like you're back at the beginning of your journey, but in a different way. It's almost like you've completed the cycle, but you are at the beginning again, but you are at a higher level. You've overcome the challenges of that cycle and that initiation. And I feel that for a lot of divine feminines, like, we are closing out a big cycle, okay? So this is no longer about, you know, sit in your room all day and heal yourself, but this is about like living your life, like doing things that feel creative and fun to you. The guides here want me to read the guidebook message for the Hermit. There we go. The Hermit. To know the goddess is to know the darkness, the void, the womb, the impenetrable nothingness. This is the dark night of the soul. This is the vision that must be carried out at all costs, no matter how isolating. This is the path of the Hermit. As a mother, goddess who rules over the fertility of the earth. Demeter is intimately tied to the cycles of birth and death, as well as love, as reflected by her intense devotion to her daughter Persephone. While mourning Persephone's abduction to be Hades' consort, Demeter emerges as the hermit, venturing through darkness, mourning, and loneliness. Her journey persists for half of each year as Persephone leaves her mother once again to rule the underworld. So this is almost like you are, in a way, embodying the archetypes of this story, right? So it's like you are Demeter, who must kind of like, that's your higher self who's saying in some ways farewell to your 3D self to come down to this earthly plane, go through these challenges, but emerge stronger for it, to serve out your duty, to go to the underworld, which is representative of all your fears and your subconscious mind and all of the things that are repressed and hidden beneath. The hermit speaks of the need to find center and resurge and refuge within the self. Some alone time and recalibration are needed. Rekindle your relationship to your heart. Solitude is often necessary to understand your own drives and fantasies, as well as why you want what you want out of any relationship. So it's almost like this is a time to reflect on the union that you are calling in. Why do I want this union? What do I want this union to look like? What are the energies that I want this union to embody? So instead of just thinking about it like, I want this relationship, like think about the energies that you want within the relationship. Because if you can be very clear about the energies that you want in your twin flame union, or even your manifestations overall, it comes in stronger. So for me, I made a vision board of what I want my twin flame union to look like. And it was basically, you know, I'm a huge gamer. I always have been. I love playing video games, which is kind of like in contrast to, I guess, my more spiritual side. But that is the dichotomy of being human and spiritual. I wanted a gaming companion. I wanted someone who shared that hobby, that passion. And my twin flame really understands every single thing about me when it comes to, you know, that side of me. So that's one example of a vision board that I made. I literally had an image of like my desk next to his, and we ended up having that, and it was beautiful. It was like just like my vision board. I wanted a relationship that was always going to be focused on companionship. I mean, I have a Libra moon, so I'm naturally very team oriented. I like partnership and companionship. And so I manifested a union that really reflected back to me those values. So for you, the divine feminine watching this video, it's like, what do you imagine your union to look like? Even write it in the comments, journal it out loud, because when you can put it into writing and when you can manifest it specifically with what you want, it comes in and it's no longer this ambiguous thing that feels out of reach. You feel powerful. But all that to say is like, this is your journey. Like this has been your journey, this dark night of the soul, this path to self-actualization and self-realization, where this union that you've been working so hard to call in and manifest and heal for is like this embodiment and a reflection of also the life that you want. They're not separate. So this union is always going, if you really break down your vision for what this union is, you will notice that it parallels the overall dreams and purpose that you want for your life. So doing that can be a really, really powerful activity, okay? What a beautiful, beautiful reading. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in here and allowing me to connect to your energy. I always say collective readings are a co-creation, so this could not have been channeled if you had not sent out the signal. The resources that I mentioned in my academy, I will link in the description if you need help healing your triggers with the Trigger Recovery Roadmap. Also, I want to mention that I'm currently running a Lionsgate sale up to August 7th. So everything on my Etsy is 25% off. And I also have some limited time Lionsgate Portal Union activation readings, which is either a 6-month forecast or a 12-month forecast accompanied with a healing plan. You guys know how much I love to not give homework, but I like for my readings to be useful. Like, I don't like to just give information and then say, good luck. I like to give you a full healing plan and a full alignment plan so that you can actually shift your energy, because at the end of the day, I am not just a reader, but I am a healer. So let's create some change. All right, I am sending you guys so much love. Take care, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.